What if I told you that you could learn any new skill in less than 24 hours? I'm not talking about years or even months, but a single day's worth of focused effort. Sounds pretty impossible, right? Well, stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to have the exact blueprint to make that happen. Let's dive in. Okay, first things first, we've got to tackle the elephant in the room, this whole 10,000-hour rule. We've all heard it, right? The idea that you need to sink 10,000 hours of practice into something to become an expert. But what if that very idea is the thing that's been holding you back this whole time?
Because, let's be honest, it is. It's a massive oversimplification. Just think about it for a second. Is learning to play a simple triangle really as hard as learning to play a complex instrument like the viola? Of course not. The truth is, how fast you get good at something depends on a ton of different factors. And guess what? A lot of them are completely within your control.
And this brings us to something we can call the efficiency gap. It's the perfect way to explain why you might take 4 years of Spanish in high school and barely be able to order a coffee, but then spend just a few weeks totally immersed in Mexico and suddenly find yourself having actual conversations. See, it's not about the sheer number of hours you put in. It's about how you use those hours. So how do we close that gap? How do we make our learning super efficient? Well, it all kicks off with step 1. You have to define your purpose. Seriously, the single biggest thing you can do to learn faster is to have absolute clarity on why you're even starting in the first place. And to get that clarity, you just need to answer 3 really simple questions. What exactly do you want to learn? Why do you want to learn it? And how good do you actually need to be? Nailing these down makes everything that comes next about 10 times easier. So how do you get that specific? You use this exact template you see here. You build yourself a purpose statement. I want to get this good by this date in order to do this one thing. So something like, I want to learn the basic chords on a guitar by next month in order to play Wonderwall around a campfire. Or maybe, I want to learn conversational Spanish by the summer so I can chat with new people on my trip. See how that works? It's not about becoming a world-class master. It's about hitting a specific, meaningful goal that actually matters to you. All right, once you've locked in your purpose, it's time for step 2, deconstruct the skill. You know, trying to learn a huge topic like programming or marketing all at once it's completely overwhelming. The real key is to break it down into its smallest, most manageable parts. And the best way to do that is by creating what's called a skill tree. Just picture your main goal sitting right at the top. Branching down from it are the major sub-skills, and from those, even smaller ones. You know, I heard a great story about a guy who wanted to get better at meeting women. But instead of working on his confidence or conversation skills, the main branches, he decided to learn a bunch of obscure Spanish phrases. He was focusing on a tiny little leaf at the bottom of the skill tree, instead of what really mattered. Don't be that guy. So here's the game plan. Spend your first couple of hours just researching. Look at the experts, but more importantly, look at how they got there. Draw out the entire skill tree from the trunk to the leaves. And then, and this is the crucial part, pick just 3 sub-skills to start with. Make sure they're high yield, meaning they'll give you the biggest bang for your buck, and low hanging, meaning they're the easiest for you to get started on right now. Okay, so you've defined your purpose, you've deconstructed the skill, you know what you need to practice. Now, for step 3, we have to talk about how to practice. Because just mindlessly putting in the time, that's not going to cut it. You have to practice deliberately. And this slide really shows you why. Learning follows this S-shaped curve. Most people get stuck on that flat part at the very beginning because their practice is sporadic. A little bit here, a little bit there. It feels stagnant, like you're going nowhere. But concentrated practice, that pushes you past that slow start, hits the inflection point, and launches you into that super steep, rapid growth phase. That's where the magic really happens. And what's the sweet spot for that concentrated effort? It turns out it's about 90 minutes a day. That consistent, focused block of time signals to your brain, hey, this is important. And then your brain starts working on the problem in the background. It's called diffuse mode thinking. It's literally the reason you get those brilliant breakthrough ideas when you're in the shower. But hang on a second. If you've been typing on a keyboard for years, why aren't you some kind of 100-word-per-minute wizard by now? This little paradox actually reveals one of the biggest roadblocks to learning anything. It's called the OK plateau. It's that point where you get just good enough at something that your brain can flick on the autopilot switch. You can type out an email without even thinking about where the keys are. But right there, that's the problem. Because it's no longer a challenge, you just stop getting better.
Mindless repetition is not progress.
So how do you break through that plateau? With the 40-20 rule. It's simple. For every hour of practice, you split your time. Spend the first 20 minutes in your comfort zone, warming up, reviewing the basics. But for the next 40 minutes, you have to push yourself into discomfort. You have to tackle the things that are just a little bit beyond what you can currently do. That's where all the growth is hiding.
And that brings us to our final and maybe the most powerful accelerator of them all. Step 4, creating fast feedback loops. Think about it. The faster you can spot a mistake, the faster you can fix it. It's that simple.
There's this awesome story about a kid in a tennis tournament. During the breaks, he wasn't just catching his breath. He was furiously writing notes on index cards, analyzing every single point, every swing. He was literally coaching himself in real time. And yeah, he completely crushed his opponent. That is the incredible power of self-editing.
So how do you actually do this? You just shorten the loop. So instead of grinding through 50 practice test questions and only reviewing them at the end, do one question and review it immediately. Instead of practicing basketball with just one ball and wasting time chasing it, use a whole basket of balls to get more shots in. The goal is to get that feedback instantly.
Here's a great way to think about it. Every practice session isn't practice, it's an experiment. This simple mindset shift takes all the pressure off of being perfect and puts the focus on just iterating and discovering what works. The faster you can run your experiments, the faster you learn.
Okay, so let's put this all together. Let's wrap this up into the complete blueprint to learn anything and learn it fast.
Here it is. First, define a crystal clear purpose. Second, deconstruct the skill into a tree and pick your starting point. Third, practice in concentrated 90-minute chunks. Fourth, practice deliberately with the 40-20 rule so you never get stuck on that okay plateau. And finally, number 5, create the fastest feedback loops you possibly can to self-correct on the fly. And that's the framework. It's a proven system for getting good at things fast. It replaces thousands of mindless hours with just a few highly focused ones. So really, the only question left to ask is, what amazing new skill are you going to start learning today?